Welcome to the Operations Management Framework, brought to you by the Department of Public Service and Administration. Achieving goals is a lot like farming. We plant seeds and continually nurture the land and the growing crops through various systems and processes that ensure that we will yield the best harvest. In this video, we will be looking at the systems and processes of the Operations Management Framework, which is birthed out of Batho Pele and the White Paper on Transforming Public Service 1995 and the legislative framework that upholds it. To start with, let's have a look at the applicable legislative frameworks. The Constitution, Chapter 10, Section 195 of 1 of the Constitution outlines that the public administration must be governed by basic democratic values and principles, such as a high standard of professional ethics must be promoted and maintained, and efficient economic and effective use of resources must be promoted. And for more on these basic democratic values and principles, please refer to the Constitution. The Public Administration Management Act 2015. Chapter 2 of the Public Administration Management Act stipulates that the head of a national or provincial institution must establish and maintain the prescribed service charter, setting out measures to foster a culture of service delivery, professionalism, and ethical conduct among employees. The Public Service Regulations of 2001. Part 3 of C advances the implementation of Batho Pele by making provisions for the regulations of the development of a service delivery improvement plan by all institutions within the public service. Promotion of Access to Information, Act 2 of 2000, gives effect to the right of access to information held by the state or by a person required for the exercise or protection of any rights, and to provide for matters connected therewith. Promotion of Administrative Justice, Act 3 of 2000. The Bill of Rights guarantees the right to just administrative action, which includes the right to fair and reasonable administrative action that is allowed by the law, and the right to be given reasons for administrative action affecting them in a negative way. The White Paper on Transforming Public Service 1995 and the White Paper on Transforming Public Service Delivery 1997. The transformed South African public service will be judged on its effectiveness in delivering quality service delivery which meets the basic needs for all. Batho Pele has 8 principles. Let's have a look at them and their purpose. At number 1, we have consultation. Citizens should be consulted about the level and quality of the public service they receive, and wherever possible, should be given a choice about the services they are offered. At number 2, we have service standards. Citizens should be told what level and quality of public service they will receive so that they are aware of what to expect. At number 3, we have access. All citizens should have equal access to the services to which they are entitled. Number 4, courtesy. Citizens should be treated with courtesy and consideration. At number 5, information. Citizens should be given full, accurate information about the public service they are entitled to receive. Number 6, openness and transparency. Citizens should be told how national and provincial institutions are run, how much they cost, and who is in charge. Number 7, redress. If the promised standard of service is not delivered, citizens should be offered an apology, a full explanation, and a speedy and effective remedy. And when complaints are made, citizens should receive a sympathetic, positive response. Number 8. Value for money. Public services should be provided economically and efficiently in order to give citizens the best possible value for money. These 8 principles of Batho Pele have more to do with human values and dignity than operational processes. The Public Service Operations Management Framework and methodology aims to integrate Batho Pele with operations management, to develop the necessary structures, systems and processes to enable institutions to meet their strategic objectives for effective service delivery. So why the OMF? Because it is an essential tool for public service managers who are, amongst other things, responsible for designing and delivering services to service beneficiaries, managing operational resources, and ensuring continuous improvement and success of the institution. It is important to note, instead of the previous priorities, the OMF provides structure and guidance to all public service managers in executing their responsibilities. So giving public service managers a structure through the OMF ensures that service beneficiaries are more satisfied with the services provided, also ensuring provision for the right services, experiences, and outcomes. So what is the significance of operations management? It is to reduce the cost of products and services while being more effective and efficient. To provide the basis for future innovation by building capacity of operational skills and knowledge capacity within the public service. A more relevant, representative and transparent public service environment requires new thinking from public service operations managers, and improving operations can be an effective way to improve the overall performance of an institution. Based on this, the OMF is underpinned by the following key principles. Promoting the agenda of a developmental state by institutionalizing quality service delivery through effective and efficient mechanisms within the public service. Responding to needs of vulnerable groups and the marginalized through enhanced citizen participation. Promoting cohesiveness, joined-up interventions through aligned structures, integrated systems and processes. Flexibility, adaptability, and responding to the contextual and secretarial differences, and institutionalizing a culture of performance focus, learning and knowledge management within the public service. Now that we know how and why the OMF is essential, let's look at what operations management is. It is the activities, decisions, and responsibilities of managing the production and delivery of products and services. The operations function is the arrangement of resources that are devoted to production and delivery of products and services. Operations managers are the staff of the institution that have particular responsibility for managing some or all of the resources which comprises of the operations functions. It is one of the core functions of any institution. Although it may not be called operations management in some sectors, operations management is concerned with managing processes and therefore has relevance for all managers. All operations can be modeled as input, transformation, and output processes. They all have transforming resources, which are usually divided into facilities and staff, and transformed resources, which are some mixtures of material, information, and service beneficiaries. Few operations produce only products or only services. Most produce some mixture of tangible goods or products and less tangible services. For example, policy making and setting of minimum norms and standards for the rest of the public service. The OMF puts in place the capacity for planning, developing, implementing, and institutionalizing service delivery tools, systems, and processes to improve quality service delivery to all. Central to this is the development of the operations management framework and the value chain that includes individual guidelines and toolkits stipulating the minimum required norms and standards for all operations strategy, operations design, operations planning and control, as well as operations analysis and improvement. The operations management and implementation value chain looks as follows. These are the operations strategic objectives. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about them. The National Development Plan offers a long-term perspective. It defines a desired destination and identifies the role different sectors of society need to play in reaching that goal. As a long-term strategic plan, it serves 4 broad objectives, providing overarching goals for what we want to achieve by 2030, building consensus on the key obstacles to us achieving these goals and what needs to be done to overcome those obstacles, providing a shared long-term strategic framework within which more detailed planning can take place in order to advance the long-term goals set out in the NDP, and creating a basis for making choices about how best to use limited resources. The medium-term strategic framework. The MTSF is government's 5-year plan that identifies indicators and targets to be achieved in the 2014 to 2019 period, similar to the existing delivery agreements for the 14 outcomes. Strategic plan sets out the institution's priorities, project plans, and policies for a 3 to 5 year period within the scope of available resources. The strategic plan of an institution is developed to ensure alignment to the MTSF priorities, which are informed by the critical priorities as identified in the NDP. The strategic plan reflects on the specific indicators, targets, and actions to be implemented by the institution. Strategic plans identify important outcomes-orientated goals and objectives against which public institutions' medium-term results can be measured and evaluated by the various oversight bodies. Annual Operations Plan sets out what the institutions intend on doing in the upcoming financial year and during the MTEF to implement its strategic plan. Annual operations plans identify the performance indicators and targets that the institution will seek to achieve in the upcoming budget year. It is important that these performance indicators and targets are aligned across an institution's annual plans. Here are some activities of operations management. Understanding the operations strategic objectives. The operations management team needs to understand what it is trying to achieve. This means developing a clear vision to help the institution to achieve its long-term goals for operations performance objectives, quality, speed, dependability, flexibility, and cost. The strategic objectives of the institution must be aligned to the NDP and MTSF. Developing an operations strategy for the institution. It is vital that operations managers have a set of general principles which can guide decision-making towards the institution's longer-term goals. The operations strategy is reflected through, amongst others, the service delivery model. Designing the operations. Design is the activity of designing the form, shape, and composition of products, services, or processes. Design is critical to the operations activities. Typical design tools are, amongst others, mapped and managed business processes, implemented standard operating procedures, and developed service standards reflected in a service charter. Planning and controlling the operations. Planning and control is the activity of deciding what the operations resources should be doing and making sure that they are really doing it through monitoring thereof. Improving the performance of operations. The continuing responsibility for all operations managers is to improve the performance of their operations. To conclude, the White Paper on Transforming Public Service Delivery puts emphasis on how the public service should deal with the realities of transforming the delivery of public services. Implementation emphasizes the notion of systems, procedures, attitudes, and behavior within the public service and reorientates them to deliver quality services to all in the context of Batho Pele. The operations management framework value chain building blocks should be seen as interdependent and reliant on each other to support and improve service delivery over time. This OMF is broken down into 4 quadrants dealing with 9 building blocks. The first quadrant, Operations Strategy, deals with the service delivery model. The second quadrant is Operations Design, where we will be looking at business process management and business process mapping, standard operating procedures, service standards, and the service charter. Organizational development will not be dealt with in this video. The third quadrant, Operations Planning and Control, we will be looking at forecasting, planning, control, and adjustment of operations. The fourth quadrant, Operations Analysis and Improvement, we will be looking at productivity and the Service Delivery Improvement Plan. Organizational Functional Assessment and Learning and Knowledge Management will not be addressed in this video. For more information on these building blocks, please refer to the Department of Public Service and Administration's website. And that concludes the introduction to the Operations Management Framework. In the next few videos, we will be unpacking each of the building blocks in more detail.